Hello Rockridge, this is Miss Gonzalez, and this is going to be the artwork that 6th and 5th grade will be doing for this week. So if you are in 5th or 6th grade, this will be your piece, and we're going to be working with dimension, size, shape. We're going to be working on value using cross-hatching method. Warm versus cool colors. We also have our warm colors in our buildings as well. So lots of different elements of art for this project. Now, if you finish this a little early, that's totally fine. Maybe go back on my YouTube channel and pick something else that I have on there to do. It could either be an extra art assignment that I have on there, or you can pick one from a different grade level. It's up to you, just as long as you finish this first. And let's make sure we're spreading this out throughout the week as well. We don't want to finish this all on Monday and then you have no art to do for the rest of the week, okay? And then at the end of the week on Friday, we're gonna kind of do like a little art show and tell, where you guys are going to show your artwork via the Zoom link or Google Classroom, whichever one your teacher uses. And hold on to any other artwork you're doing either in your spare time or if it's one of the other art videos that I have on YouTube, because I'd love to see it. All right, so you're gonna need a piece of paper. You're definitely gonna need a pencil. Make sure it has an eraser on it, or just have an extra one on the side. If you don't have a Sharpie, you can just use regular black marker, or you could use a pen, which we're going to use for details inside anyways. This is like a felt pen. You by no means need a felt pen. In fact, it actually would be better if you just had a regular black pen. Okay, and then we're going to be using watercolors for this background, but if you do not have watercolors, you could use chalk pastels, oil pastels, you could use crayons or colored pencils, and I can show you how to create this effect using something like crayons and or colored pencils. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. This paper is a little bit bigger than this paper. As you can see, it kind of cuts off one of the buildings. So I'm going to draw mine a little bit smaller in here. This is thicker watercolor paper. If you have that, this would be nice to use for this project. So I'm going to go ahead and start. If you are using Sharpie, make sure you have something underneath, especially if you're using a thin computer paper like I am, so it doesn't bleed on your table. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and get started. I'm going to start at the edge of my paper on my left-hand side first, okay? And move this up so you can maybe see it a little bit better. And I'm going to come up and go down like this, okay? So I'm making almost like a triangle shape. And I want to make sure that I'm not going too far up. Mine definitely is a little bit higher in this one than it is here. That's fine. It's not going to be exactly like the one that I've already created. And I'm going to go straight down now on this side. Now make sure you're either using a ruler or get a book or a magazine. Really, there's a whole bunch of things you could use. I have my crayon box here. I could use that to make straight lines. I could use another piece of paper to make straight lines like that. So you don't necessarily need a ruler, but just make sure we don't have crazy wavy lines. And then right in the middle right here, where we have our arch, I'm going to go straight down as well. Again, making sure you use a pencil first. In case you make a mistake, we can always erase it. And we're going to do our second building, which is our purple one right here. So you're going to come up, and we want this one to be taller. So we're going to do a rectangular shape. And the reason why we want it to be taller is we want all of our buildings to be different shapes, sizes, heights. It really makes it look way more realistic and detailed. Then on top of this one, we're going to do a rectangle. We're going to do a second one, but we're going to have this one a little smaller so you can see it almost comes in. Then we're going to do a third one that again is smaller than the last. So each time you're doing your rectangle, it needs to be smaller than the previous one. Right now I'm just doing the shapes of everything. We will go back in afterwards to add those details, okay? Now I'm going to come up, because this is one of the tallest buildings, our green one here. This one's a little tricky. You're going to straight out, almost like you would just do a straight rectangular one. Then we are going to slant down. Okay, so see how I was going straight like normal, almost like I would again go down for a rectangle, but then I just start to slant down. And I'm going to go straight down. Now, right where you would have done that rectangle, we're gonna do a line that goes straight down. Okay, moving on, we have this cool building. It's very similar to this one, so we're going to start from here, go straight up, and kind of slant downwards a little bit more on this one, and then go down. Okay. Then right where the arch is up here, you're going to do a straight line again, the middle. All right, so now we have our last building, which is our purple one here. It's different than all the rest of them. So how we are going to do this is starting on the side. We want this one to be a lot lower because these two are already a little bit of the same height. This one is different, and then this one's different. So to break this up, we don't want one that's the same height or even taller. We need something that kind of comes a little bit more down. So I'm going to start on the side right here, and I'm going to come out like this and then go straight. So you can see that down and then straight. All right, then I am going to come straight out like this. Okay, so we almost have like a little rectangular square happening. Then I'm going to do a straight line right where that little arch was. Okay, my Sharpie's actually kind of drying out, so it's looking a little faded. All right, I'm going to put that down, and I'm now going to get my pen out. Again, you probably you could stick with your pencil for this, but let's say if you could stick with your pencil, but what you're going to end up doing is going back over it with the pen. So if you want to just start on the pen, I'm fine with that. All right, so what we're going to do is start on the shapes inside here. So on this one, I'm just going to do some quick, easy squares, and I'm doing 2 on each side, just like I did on this one. And I'll go ahead and leave it like that. That might be easier for you guys to see. They don't need to all be perfectly the same size. Mine definitely are not. Okay, and I have room for 2 more here. Now on this side, we're going to do smaller ones because the perspective is that this is almost a little bit further away. It's going in a different direction, and this is in front of it. So we want this side to be smaller. So I'm going to almost kind of come off the page. 1, 2, 3. Okay. So as I'm doing this, you can definitely tell that these are a lot smaller, and every time I'm doing the one on the left hand side, it's going to come off the page. So I'm just going to do all of these ones first, and then do these. Okay. All right, so now I'm going to add a little bit more details to them. So what that means is you can tell that it almost looks like very sketchy in here, the way I did that with them. And so I come back in with my pen. And again, if you started this off with pencil first, don't even worry about doing it neatly and nicely with the pen like this, like I did, because it doesn't matter. Just go straight in with that pen. And we're just going really fast, kind of very sketch-like around them. Adds a little bit more dimension. We're gonna do the same thing over here. I'm going fast. I'm bolding some of these, so in other words, I'm making them thicker, but I'm also doing loose lines because we do not want it perfect. Now, we still want to see the windows though, so don't make it too crazy to where you're just like almost blacking out the windows and you can't even tell that they're windows because you went crazy with your lines. Okay. Alright, so I think we're done with that. Oh, I actually forgot these sides ones. Alright, now that we have kind of sketched out our windows, we are going to go ahead and do what is called cross hatching, which is a really cool sketching technique that makes it appear, that gives about value to it. So it makes it look darker, again, making the overall picture more realistic. So how we achieve that, I'm gonna go ahead and do this upside down so that you guys can see it a little bit better, is with your thin pen, you're going to very lightly, very quickly do these lines going this way, making sure you don't get into the windows. And you are doing it specifically on this side. Okay, so I'm going to kind of get in between these windows here doing that. What I don't want to see is straight lines like this where you're doing that, as opposed to what I'm doing, which is very thin, wispy lines like this. Thin, wispy. I do not want you to go slow and do thick, straight lines. They need to be very thin, very wispy, and to achieve that, you really go on your side and go very quickly to achieve it, instead of really slow like that. Okay, so let's keep going. I'm gonna go ahead. Let's see, I did it pretty much all on this side, so just do those thin, wispy lines. Okay, so now that I have them all going horizontally, I'm going to go vertically now. Thick, or thin and wispy going this side. And I'm doing a lot. You can't even tell that they're individual lines. It just kind of looks dark and shaded now on this side. I'm gonna do the same thing in here. Okay, so we're gonna have this side all done. And let me show you just here again. If you were to do it like this, now when you go on the top, you can tell this looks very different than this. This looks like a checkered board. You do it very thin and don't press down as hard like this. It doesn't look like a checkerboard. It looks more like this. It looks more shaded and gives us the effect that we want. And when you're doing it very thin and lightly, again, it almost looks like it's fading, which is what we want to achieve. So moving on to building number 2. Right up here with my thin pen, I'm going to then draw a little circle on the top. And then I'm going to do more of my cross hatching. So very thin and lightly, I'm going to go straight up and down on these 2 rectangles. And then going the other direction, thin and wispy. Again, I'm adding some nice shading in here. I might even add a line or 2 right up there. And then I'm going to start doing my buildings now, or my windows. Again, you would just do the shapes of yours with pencil first, but then you can go in and do this very sketchy lines like I'm doing. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3 rectangles, and then I'm going to do a line. Very thin, wispy. I'm going to go ahead, do. And the reason why I'm doing different windows on each level is because we just want this to look different. We don't want them all to look the same, because it would get boring if all the buildings had the exact same windows like this. It's nice to see a breakup of that. Right, so after this one, we're going to go back to our 3 rectangles. And then we're going to do a line down there, and we're going to do 2 big ones right here. And finish it up with one more line. All right, so now this building, it's not actually done yet. Again, let's look at the cross hatching that was done in all different sides. So go ahead and watch me while I'm doing it. If you need to pause it because you want to do it with me, that's fine too. And I'll put that one right there. So we're gonna come down. Again, I'm really using the sides of my pen so that I'm not making the lines too thick. Okay, now I'm going to go in the opposite direction. Going very lightly, very quickly, making sure I don't get the windows. And now that side is done. On this side, I'm just going to do straight lines going like that. I'm not going to go the other direction because I don't really think it needs it. I'm just going to do it on this side for right now. And the lines here are very close together. Again, because we don't want to really see lines, we just want to see that it's going to be darker in that area. I might kind of go in here. All right, now let's do this side. Then, okay, now other direction. Right, very nice. Now, I think I'm going to switch it up. Instead of doing it again on this side, I'm going to do it on this side. Okay. Oh, very nice. Now I'm going to do it in this bottom part. Right, and then just down here. So now that building's done, I think I'm just going to come in here with my pen, again, make it a little bit more sketchy on the sides. Perfect. And I think I'm even going to do that on this building here, just some thin lines around it, very loose, because I didn't really do that there. All right, next building here, we have very easy, simple, long rectangles that are going to be the windows. Okay, so whether you're doing it with me or you have it paused, just make sure they're spaced out. If you want to do your buildings a little bit differently than mine, or you're not your buildings, your windows, that's fine too. You might have a different idea. All right, and okay, I think that's going to be it. So now I'm just going to go back, darken these up a little bit around the edges. Okay, and I think pretty good. Alright, remember guys to erase your pencil marks, because I know you're starting this off with pencil, so we're not seeing pencil marks on top of the pen, on top of the Sharpie. It'll just be too much. So now what we're going to do is do the cross hatching on this side. So and I'm filling it in, see how much on the side my pen is. It's very much on the side. And I think here I'm just going to kind of go back and forth really quickly because we want the bottom to really be covered. And a little bit on the sides over here. Alright, now we're going to go up and down. With your pen. The more on your side you do it, the less you kind of see the marks, which is kind of cool. Alright, and I think that looks pretty nice. I think in this corner here, just like how I have it there, I'm going to do a little bit of the cross hatching. And I kind of have a couple random lines that I'll do like that. Okay? Alright, moving on, we're doing the exact same thing we did here on this side to this side, except we're not really having it come all the way down. So let's start off in this corner, kind of go. And I'm picking up my pencil the more I come down because I don't want it all the way down. I don't want all the cross hatching to come all the way down. Alright, so I think that's done there. I'm going to come over on this side, do a little bit of the cross hatching here. Perfect. Now I'm going to do the buildings, or I keep saying buildings for windows. Alright, I mean the windows. We're going to do the windows. Now, if you actually are looking, these windows here are much bigger than these ones. These are actually smaller, and I don't end up actually finishing them. So you can do the same thing as well. And the reason why I do that is because, again, we want it to look like you're seeing this first instead of this. So if that were the case, this would be smaller in your field of vision. And we're almost done with the drawing part. Alright, and probably room for just one more. Okay, now I'm going to come back in again, as I always do with my pen, and I'm going to just kind of thicken up some of these lines. And notice when I'm thickening up the lines, guys, I'm not going around the entire thing. I'll just show you like this thing like this and making it super thick. Okay, that actually kind of looks weird, and it definitely looks out of place compared to the other ones, because what I'm doing on the other ones, I'll show you right here for an example, I'm going dark, thin, maybe a little dark, and then thin again. So it's not all the same. Each side is kind of a different thickness in value, which is dark to light or light to dark. Okay, last but not least, we're going to do this guy. So for this one, I'm going to switch up how I do my cross hatching. Instead of doing it on this side, which I've consistently done for every single one, I'm going to go on this side. So okay, Okay, then I'm going to go in this direction. Perfect. And then I think I'll just come up here a little bit. Okay. Now I'm going to do some thin lines like this coming up. But I don't think I'm going to go back and forth and do the cross hatching like I did here and in other spots. I'm just going to do it straight like that. Okay. Now the buildings, or the windows. There I go again, saying buildings instead of windows. All right, so I'm going to do some squares, and I'm just doing 2. Again, I'm not doing a ton. I do have it pretty good spaced out. You definitely don't want the windows like right on top of each other. And then, unlike the other ones, I'm going to add a door at the bottom. So I'll go ahead, darken these up like I did some of the other ones a little bit more. Okay, and then I'm just going to kind of go over this line just to give it more of that texture. So your buildings are done. We can go ahead and put this pen away because we will not be needing it any longer. Now, 2 things you can use. You could use, colored pencils, or you could use crayons. So I will show you how to color using both. And this is very, very important because if you're not coloring it correctly, they're going to look very flat instead of realistic and 3-dimensional like they look in here. So I'm going to go ahead and get blue, and I'll use blue. So I'll use 2 different blues for the buildings. So what I want you to do is figure out a color scheme. I chose all cool colors. So cool colors are, for example, blue, purple, green, different color blues. So we have light blue, we have a dark blue, we have like a kind of like a turquoise blue, and then purple again. So I would do that because what we're going to end up doing is doing warm colors for our windows and for our sky. Okay, so we want cool against warm. So I'm going to go ahead and show you this one. So we're going to, instead of doing this one purple, I'm going to do it blue. So anywhere where you're doing the cross hatching specifically, you're going to press really, really hard, like I'm doing right here. And then when you don't see the cross hatching, you're going to make it really light. So I'm going to ease up on the pressure I'm applying and make it light. And when I see this cross hatching again, or even just the straight lines I did, I'm going to make it dark. So cross hatching dark, light everywhere else. Okay. So again, I'm going very light on this side because there is no cross hatching on this side. And then when I get over here, I'm pressing down dark. Now, do you see, just like how I did it up here, even though this one was purple, how again it gives the illusion of it being more 3-dimensional because of the value we're adding by going over the cross hatching with a dark color. So this one is also very important, and same with this one and this one. So I'm going to show you how to do that when you're doing something that's going to be, again, on the left-hand side, it's automatically going to be darker. Okay, so this is on the left-hand side, that's on the left-hand side, that's on the left-hand side, and then your right-hand side is going to be lighter. So I'm going to show you that example over here again by using a blue. This is going to be with a crayon, and this is an indigo, almost looks purple. So pressing hard, and then kind of easing up a little bit when I get to this side. And remember, you do not need to go super fast. I know I'm kind of going a little fast right now, but that's just to show you and kind of give you an idea how we are going to be coloring ours. Okay, so this is how it would look if you use a crayon. Okay, you kind of see it here. Now, we're going to do this side of the building. So again, pressing down, want it dark where the cross hatching is, but now I'm going to get light with my crayon. And to do that, I'm just not pressing down as hard. Making sure you're avoiding your windows. All right. So the way we colored in this building would really be the same way you do this one over here. So these two are the same. This one and this one, you do the same thing. For this one right here, or this one and this one are the same, this one and this one are the same. And then this one here, you see that you would press hard on this side and kind of a little bit up top here, and then this all here would be light. So you could do it with colored pencils or crayons. I really like using the colored pencils, but as you can see, it looks very nice with the crayons as well. So I'm gonna put that down now, and let's see, let's get some markers out. Now, again, you don't need to switch to markers. I'm going to though, because I think it looks pretty cool with it like that. And I'm going to use warm colors. So warm colors are, for example, red, pink, yellow, orange. We do not want to pick blue or green or purple or any of those cool colors because they blend right in with our building. And then we kind of want to do a pattern. So you see I did red, yellow, orange, pink. Yellow, red, pink, orange. Like it's all of the same colors within each one. And I would switch it up. So I did pinks, reds, and oranges here, and on this side I add yellow, and this one I just do red, bright pinks, and then this one I switch it up again by adding the yellow. Okay, so don't have all yellow right next to each other, because if I had yellow right in here it would be too much. It's nice to just have one yellow on one side and then skip it. Okay, we have yellow again, then we skip it, and then we have yellow again. Okay, you can kind of twist it up a little bit. They don't need to be the exact same way that I did it. For instance, if you wanted this one green, but again, let's stick to cool colors for our buildings, warm colors for our windows, and then warm colors for our background. So speaking of background, we're going to get started. I'm going to do half watercolor on one side and half crayon or colored pencils on the other. So you guys who don't have watercolors can still get the same effect. So as always, make sure you wet your brush first. This is not, as I've said already, watercolor paper. It's not very thick. This is thicker paper, so you can use it for watercolor like I did. With that being said, since this is just regular printer paper, don't use a lot of water because you are going to potentially make a hole in your paper. I'm going to start off with black. And